Hey there, Kelly here, and welcome to A Slice of My World. Today's video is a bit different than the videos that you guys usually see me upload. Today's video is a conversation that I had with a dear friend of mine on life and the lessons learned so far in these 51 years. So if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that. Otherwise, stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful, as always, that I'm surrounded by such beautiful people in my life and people who are actually willing to do this interview style thing with me, which is really surprising because sometimes I'm like, will you do this with me? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, whoa, okay, great. And so I'm bringing on Kelly, one of my really good friends, and actually one of the first friends that I made as a digital nomad in Chiang Mai. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. But hello, Kelly. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, Shikha. Thank you for having me.
I'm so grateful that you took the time to come, especially since we all know, anyone who knows you, that you're so busy and you're just literally running from one appointment to another appointment, from one thing to another thing. So I'm really, really grateful that you are here to just teach us something, give us,
Well,
impart
I'm
some of your wisdom.
always
So
happy to go.
I was thinking, let's start with a little bit of background. How did you get into this digital nomad scene? Like, how did you start traveling around the world? You're already obviously originally American, I believe,
Yes.
from Atlanta, I think. I'm not sure. Oh,
Nope.
sorry.
No, that's
So
okay.
you're from America somewhere.
I am an
Um,
American.
you're an
I
American,
was, go ahead.
and so tell us about it. Yeah, tell us how did
Okay,
this start?
okay. I am an American. I was born and raised inner city Chicago, and all the bad stuff that conjures up, that was probably me. I joined the military to kind of escape the hood, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, and I ended up in Florida. So Florida actually call home now in the
Mm,
States.
I
So
see.
I lived in Florida for a little more than 20 years. And
Mm,
then I took off after I was diagnosed with lupus. The American healthcare system was either going to make me poor,
mm,
make me homeless, or kill
mm.
me, or all
Oh,
three.
oh my
So
God. Yes, I
uh,
can imagine.
yeah. So I decided that I could probably do bad in other places and do better. And so I took off for some world, if you will,
Uh-huh.
and my diagnosis wasn't a full year old. My family thought I was insane.
Mm,
And I just wanted better healthcare, quality healthcare. And I had said back in 2001 that I wanted to eventually retire abroad. And, so I didn't know it was going to happen as soon as it did. I was thinking I would retire at 50, and instead it happened at 46. And so I was glad to get out of there and experience some other cultures, other, lifestyles, and the whole 9 yards. So that's kind of how that came about.
amazing. Yes,
Thank
and
you.
we met in Chiang Mai, Thailand,
Yes.
4 or 5 years ago. I don't actually remember
Yeah.
now.
Because I got there in
Um,
2016. Yeah.
oh, you did. So I got there in 2016 as well, but I don't think we met each other right away. I think it was a few months before we did. So, and you were really active in the groups. You were really active in the community. You were really just like everyone knew who Kelly was, and everyone knew like what you did. So you started off doing a lot of interesting things, but I don't think you're doing that anymore. Is that correct? Like, what are you doing in terms of, I mean, you do a lot during your days, but you started off with certain things and you don't do them anymore. Can you tell us a little bit
Right.
about that?
Yeah, in Florida, I spent 20 years in real estate. And
Ah,
when I got my diagnosis, I could hardly walk, I could hardly talk. Like it really ravaged my body. I went
mm,
from about 170 pounds, and as I sit here with my sleek look today,
mm,
I am literally 97 pounds or 44
mm.
kilograms or 45
Wow.
kilograms right in there. Um, and so that's probably why my family thought I was crazy when I took off with this new diagnosis. But when I got to Chiang Mai, I was not unlike a lot of other people where I was kind of a little uncertain about
Mm-hmm.
what it is that I should be doing. But because I'd owned my own businesses before, I think I was still a little bit more business savvy than a lot of the people that were there that were half my age.
Yes.
So what I started off doing was, as quiet as it's kept, I was blogging when people were like, "A what? What's a blog?" So I started a successful fashion blog, and they'd be like, "You should get a real job." And I was like, "I love this. You could bite me." So, so when I got to Chiang Mai in 2016, I was old hat at internet marketing and social media, when it first came on the scene, and, all of that stuff. So what I was doing basically was helping people take their ideas and carry them all the way through to where you could actually earn an income from it. And I was calling it idea to income. And I had a lot of people that came through. They were successful. They did my ideas. And what I started getting known for was, "Oh my God, you got to talk to Kellie. She's always got an idea." Like, I don't just say, "Oh, well, you should be a realtor." I would come up with these interesting, crazy spins that I was like, I don't really think a lot of people are doing it that way. So if you market that this way, and they were like, "Holy crap," But what I found and why I'm no longer doing that is, one, I really do enjoy sharing and teaching people, but I get frustrated when people ask me for my knowledge and they don't implement it.
Yes.
And I know it's none of my business whether they do it or not, but at that point, I really feel like they've wasted my time.
Totally.
And I kind of got tired of that. And then what would happen is they would recognize a lot of times the value in what it was that I was doing, and they would want a discount. And I'm like, you want to make money on my back, but you don't want to pay me. You want to discount the knowledge. So I got really, really frustrated with that. And so I really kind of wanted to turn my income into something that didn't necessarily rely on other people, in the sense of being a direct consultation or a direct class or anything like that. And because of the background that I had in fashion blogging, I've always been a creative person. I never dressed like other people. I never carried myself like other people. I always thought I was unique and wanted to be unique. So when people say, "Oh, I just can't believe that she would do that," I'm like, I would have done it. I'm the one like, I don't care what you say. If it makes me happy, I'm doing it, and you can point and laugh all you want to. I don't care. And, and that's allowed me to do a lot of things and, learn a lot of lessons and that kind of thing. And so I really just kind of wanted to do something creative and that was fun. And I didn't know what that was, to be honest with you. And a very good friend of mine, her mother makes these amazing bags. And I was like, bags are really cool, and she was sewing them and they looked like they came from the store. And I was just like, wow. So that's kind of where this new realm of creativity, if you will, came from. So when I left Thailand, I went back to the States for several months. And during that time, I was like, "Can your mom teach me how to sew?" And my thought was, she was like, "Well, what do you want to sew?" I was like, some palazzo pants and some circle skirts, simple stuff, if you will. And I got to her house and I was like, "Those bags are amazing." And so we started sewing a purse. And in fact, hang on a second. That purse is right here.
Oh, great. I would love to see.
And that was actually unintentional, even because I carry it still 2 years later. So this is what
oh my gosh.
And
you made that.
I made this, and it's got like a pink interior. And what I found when I started joining these sewing groups, they were like, "Oh, you should start with straight lines on a piece of paper." I was like, "Well, I started with vinyl." And they're like, "Beginners don't sew with vinyl." I was like, "You." So I'm like, go big or go home, baby. So I started off sewing, vinyl and plastic and all of these things. I was like, this is a lot of fun. And, so I started first making purses and doing home decor stuff, and just having, pillows and planters and just having a lot of fun that way. And I was on YouTube one day and kind of fell down. Like I'm not a person that, I don't watch a lot of television. unless it's a documentary. If I can't learn something, if it's just mindless, supposed entertainment, I'm usually not entertained by that. You know, I'm almost always trying to be enhancing my knowledge or learning how to do something new. So I am all about the school of YouTube University. I fall down the rabbit hole all the time. And I came across these videos on creating adult coloring books. And I've never been one that liked to color, or so I thought. But I taught myself Adobe Photoshop. I taught myself Adobe Illustrator. I taught myself Adobe Premiere. And I was like, oh, this will be fun. It'll be something I could do in Adobe. And I started creating these coloring books, and I was like, this is cool. You know, and I just put them out there, and if people wanted to buy them, great. If they didn't, whatever. But I wasn't having to be face to face with them and saying, Shikha, you gotta sign up for my coloring book, you know? Whereas before, it was like, hey, let me tell you the value and benefit of having a consultation with me. Now I don't have to do that, you know? So I started creating the coloring books, and then I ordered a few of my own coloring books because that's what you should do. And I started coloring in them, and I was like, this shit is awesome. So I started coloring, and then I just kind of went again down the rabbit hole. I started painting and drawing and just all kinds of nonsense, if you will. And I recently, I mean, again, I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna put it out there. If people want it, they can have it. If not, you know, I still have certain other forms of income that I wasn't like, I've got to be in your face to have you, you know, throw money at me. So I was still comfortable with the idea that I could do these coloring books, and if people buy them, great. If they don't, whatever, you know. And I started, you know, so I've kind of been all over the place creatively, sewing, drawing, painting, making jewelry, just all kinds of nonsense. And I was like, all right, well, what do you really like? How much fun can you have? Because I get bored easily, which is why being creative is good for me, because I can move from painting to drawing to sewing, and never, you know, there's always something different, but always still in that creative realm. And recently I had an event, and I've got another one scheduled for the 6th of April. My first event was coloring in cocktails.
Oh, I love it.
So I got a bunch of grown folks over here coloring adult coloring pages. And the next event that's on the 6th of May is called Scribble, Scrabble, and Babble.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Well, it's scribble art, and then I'm gonna have a language exchange, you know, because living in Mexico, so that's where the Babble part,
Yes, that's brilliant. That's a really good idea. Oh, by the way, you're in Mérida, Mexico, just for all the viewers who are listening.
Yes, I'm in Mérida, Mexico.
That's brilliant.
Loving it. Yes.
So, you're really loving it. I feel like you're really thriving in Mérida, Mexico, and I'm really, really happy to see that, because I feel like in Thailand, even, or in Chiang Mai, you were like, yeah, it's nice, but it's not my cup of tea. You know, I was like, you weren't really settled, and then you were like, oh, I need to find somewhere else, and you know, there's lots of options on your plate where you're like, you wanted something obviously that was affordable in terms of healthcare, because obviously that's a huge one for you. But you're just like, I'm not sure. But finally, I see that glow in your face that says, yes, this is me. This is my place. So I'm really happy to see that. Yeah, really, really happy.
Thank you. I'm a little, you know, still a little apprehensive, but I am. You know, this is gonna be home. I own furniture for the first time in like 4 or 5 years.
Yes, that's a huge sign.
Yeah, I was really scared. Like I bought the bed I bought, first of all, it's insane. Okay. It's probably half the cost of everything in my freaking house.
Oh wow. And that's great.
When it had to be special ordered. It took over a month to get here. And when I realized it, you would have thought I bought a house. Because I was like, oh my God, did I make a mistake? You know, if I decide to leave Mexico, I'm not getting rid of this bed. You know, I'm like, I'll be dragging this bed to Chiang Mai, to Portugal, to wherever the hell I'm going next. Because I'm not, you know, so it was like, Kellie, relax. Stop. You know. So, but But my bed is the highlight of my house. I love this
Oh,
bed.
I can imagine. And sleep is the most important thing of the day anyway. So I'm glad that you
Yeah.
have a good bed to sleep in all night long. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, and especially after those beds in Thailand, I tell
Oh,
people those were not mattresses. I'm like, somebody came here and sold them a bill of goods. They got a bunch of box springs and they were told they were mattresses. So, so
oh
having
God.
a really
Uh,
comfortable bed
yeah.
is paramount. And sometimes, I mean, unfortunately, with the way that my body works, that my health, I'm in the bed a lot during the day as well.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so it's really important for me to have something
Of
that is
course.
truly comfortable for me.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, Thailand beds are like hard as a rock. If anyone's wondering what Kellie's talking about, they're literally like they have no bounce in them, and you can just. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know why they built it that way. I mean, I was fine because like I can sleep anywhere really. But my sister came to visit, and she's like, "These beds, they're not beds.
Yeah,
We're sleeping on the ground." And
exactly.
I
That's
was
how I
like,
felt too. Yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, everyone seems to get used to it eventually, but they are usually you end up getting like a topper. A lot of people get toppers, like mattress toppers, like 2 or 3 of them, and then they pile it on top to make it a little
Yeah.
bit soft. But
Yeah.
that's just a fail safe or like a go around technique. It's not really. It doesn't work for that long because the mattress toppers also they kind of squish.
Yeah. I
Anyways,
mean, it is kind of
side
putting a
topic.
mattress topper on cement. You're still not going to really be that comfortable. Just a
No,
little. Yeah.
exactly. It's like a tiny little bit.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is your relationship? Because you've always been a creative person. I feel like it's like in your blood, really. So it's obviously transformed a lot for you. Like how would you describe your relationship with creativity as a person?
My relationship with creativity is, I really, first of all, I love it
Mm-hmm.
because it helps me to work through a lot of things. Depression, anger, anxiety. It
Mm-hmm.
really does. And it's funny because my sewing machine, the brand is Brother.
Okay.
And sometimes I will go in there and I don't know why it happens, but I'll be sewing and then I'll start crying about something and, have to get the Kleenex. And I always tell people I'm having a talk with my brother, and
Oh, that's
so
sweet.
it's really helped me to, because sometimes when there's something going on in your life,
Mm-hmm.
you're so in it in that moment that you can't really clearly think. But if you could just get a minute where the air was clear, you could
Yeah.
see the picture better. And for me, a lot of times when I get creative, because I'm so in the moment of what I'm doing, it allows that moment of clarity to
Mm.
happen. And I may go in and people, my therapist asked me, if it makes you cry, why do you do it? I was like, because I have solutions at the end of it. I'm not just here crying for no reason. At the end of all of that, I'm like, I hadn't thought about it this way until I came in here and had a discussion with my brother. So for me,
Amazing.
it really is. I mean, and the thing about it is like certain things. I've got videos on Instagram where I'm stuck in bed and I'm angry
Mm-hmm.
about being stuck in bed because, like you said, I am a very active, I've always been very extrovert, I've always been very social. And to have my body put me on my butt and I have to stay in the bed, I get angry about that. But if I can draw, I can do that in bed. If I
Yeah.
can, create certain things, it allows me to do something constructive with my hands other than wanting to pound the shit out of something, you know.
Yes.
So for me, and I mean, and for people that are watching, I, I just have to be surrounded by all my nonsense, and this was not on
I
purpose.
love it. I love it.
So I call my art for the non-artist because I can't draw in the traditional sense. This is one of my pieces of
Wow.
artwork. So
Beautiful.
it's
I've seen
nothing,
videos of that. The way you
yeah,
did it. Oh, so
and it's
soothing.
not complicated, like,
Mhm. Wow.
so
Yeah.
these are things that help me to and it takes, depending on the size of paper, the paper that I'm using, it takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I know that because those two drawings were done on flights.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. Makes sense.
So
Mm.
to pass the time while flying, I
Yeah.
made one drawing, and then when I had a layover and had to do the next one, I did the next drawing. You
Wow.
know, and
Yeah.
you know, so it helps me to deal with the anxiety of the fact that I got some jackass right at my elbow because the airplane is full, you know, or you know, somebody may have said something rude. I've had that on, you know, on flights,
Mm-hmm.
and it just helps me not cuss them out and end up on a no-fly list.
Yes, I can imagine.
You know, so being creative really is about, for me, dealing with the other emotions that are deeper that I couldn't really, like, I can tell people that I feel this way, but if they can't relate, it's almost like you're, for lack of a better term, it's like you're pissing in the wind. It's really not going to be effective because people don't really listen anymore. And they don't really know how to, like, if you tell somebody, I'm having the worst day of my life, they're going to go, well, it's okay. You know, tomorrow will be better. Well, in that moment, you don't give a shit about tomorrow.
Yeah.
You want to be
Yeah.
heard about what you're upset about today. And you don't necessarily need them to give you a solution. You just need them to hear you.
Yeah.
You know, so I've kind of learned to, you know, deal with my own emotions through the drawing, through the painting, through that kind of thing, and work through my own stuff without looking for other people to hear what I have to say.
That makes absolute sense. I do agree with like the fact that I don't think listening is a skill that's developed anymore. It should really be. And empathy is definitely becoming a non-skill because also there's so much to be empathic about. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. Maybe people are just burned out, but it's also something that you're like, oh, people just don't have the patience, the time, the energy. If it's not going to make them money, will they really do it? Not really. So a lot of times it's like, what am I going to get out of this? So
yeah. Right. And to me, that really is a very sad way to live.
Yeah.
That you're looking, you know, everything is not about money, you know, and I've always felt that way. I've always been the person, you know, I see a lot of things from people. Let's say someone recently just passed away. And they're like, you know, I meant to reach out to that person, or I really cared about them and I never shared with them. People will tell you, you're never going to wonder where you stand with me. If I think about you, if I haven't talked to you in 15 years, if we're friends on Facebook and I haven't even dipped into your inbox in 12 years, if I think about you that morning, I'm sending you a message. Hey, hope everything's going well in your world. Just want you to let you know you crossed my mind. My friends and my family, they know. I don't care if it embarrasses you. Like, I tell my friends, I love you. Like, you know, because I do. I care about what happens to you. I care about you. You know, I care about encouraging you, lifting you up. And you're never going, there's not anybody that is close to me that if they passed away that I would regret and be like, oh, I didn't tell them this. I tell it all, you know. And, you know, and so for me, I feel like people let tragedy make them review their lives. But why? Why should tragedy be your ruler, be your gauge? And if your whole thing is, well, it wasn't gonna do anything for me, actually it was. I mean, like, when I see you succeeding, when I see you happy, especially if I had a hand in that, you know, the feeling I get inside is priceless. You know, I'm overjoyed by that, you know, and I just can't understand, like, I would never, I've had people do this to me where it's like, hey, I'd love to interview you for my podcast. Well, you know, are you going to give me a percentage or whatever? And I'm like, dude, I just want to talk to you, you know, and I just would never really feel that. I realize my time is valuable, but at the same time, encouraging people has value in it. Lifting people up has value in it. Helping them succeed has value in it. And it does not all have to be monetary. And it's just sad to me when I see that everything is coming down to dollars, because it's leaving a lot on the table and it's hurting a lot of people and a lot of families.
Yes, I totally agree. I absolutely agree with you. I also noticed that sometimes people though don't appreciate things also, because if they're not paying for them, sometimes they're like, oh, should I really care? So it's like, it doesn't go just one way, it goes both ways. It's like, you don't appreciate something if you don't pay for it, but also people shouldn't be paying for everything either. Like, we should also have such a relationship between people. So it's like a fine balance that you have to really like tread on. But with friends and family, I so agree with you that you should really have no regrets. You could die in this moment in time, and you possibly could, like, you never know how long you have, that time is ticking. And you should really literally be able to die in this moment and say, okay, I have no regrets. If I just drop dead right now in this moment in time on this video call, that's it. I know I did everything that I supposed to do, and I said everything that I needed to say. And I'm sure there's karmic repercussions from like past lives, so this life at least I've taken care of everything.
Yes.
So I'd really kind of like to explore a little bit about your opinion, not opinion, but view of, because you are facing death in a very direct manner. I can speak about it in a very theoretical way, or like, oh, if I die, like, but I don't know. I'm not facing it. You really are. Hopefully that's what you're gonna be alive for a long, long time to come, and you'll outlive all of us. Hopefully, that would be
I don't know.
ideal.
We'll see about that.
Fingers crossed. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, because I'm sure you've had this conversation with yourself, with your friends, and also just pondered on it, because you're such a thinker. You're always like thinking about things, contemplating things. So could you share, if you're comfortable, could you share a little bit about that with us?
Absolutely comfortable, and hopefully this will liberate some people. First of all, I tell people the leading cause of death is life.
That's great.
We were on our way out when we came in, so there's that. The other part of that is, like you said, I'm looking at death. Like last year, 2020, at the beginning of the year, I thought I was going to go to the hospital. I went to the US for I booked the flight for 4 days. I was in the hospital for 3 months. I thought I was done.
Oh,
I thought that was it. The lupus had taken me out, and this was, severely malnourished. I ended up with a mobility device, so I now have a walker. My lungs are crap, and so I cough like a smoker. Never smoked a day in my life, and I can hardly sometimes get from one side of the room to the other without getting winded. And so I was like, oh well, this is it, So it's interesting that, like you said, oh, I wish for you long life, but I actually don't. It's really bad.
That's true. That makes sense.
Okay. So, and here's why. First of all, longevity, which actually freaks me out, runs in my family. My maternal grandmother right now is living in Milwaukee. She's 94 years old.
Wow. Oh my God.
My paternal grandmother passed away in 2016, shortly after I got to Chiang Mai. God rest her soul. I miss her so much. She was 92. Both of my parents are still alive. So longevity runs in my family. Okay. But here's the thing. Can I cuss on your, I think I've already said a couple of cuss.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So most people have a bucket list. I have a bucket list, because all of my life, I was like, if we can figure out how to do it, fuck it, we doing it. I lived that way even before I got sick. So when I got sick and I had to, at first they had no clue what was wrong with me. And one of the very first symptoms that I had was the lining around my heart swelled up. And they could not figure out. And so I was like, all right, well, I went to the beach in Florida, Daytona, on January 1st of 2016, and I reconciled my life. And I was like, okay, everybody that I love, do they know that I love them? Everybody that I told to kiss my ass, should they still kiss my ass? And has there been anything up to this point that I wanted to do that I haven't? And there wasn't. And so at that moment, like you just mentioned, had I passed away right there in the sun and the sand, I would have been good with the life that I lived. Now, for me, being in bed, as I mentioned earlier, it makes me very angry because I've
Mm.
always been, my nickname, literally that I was dubbed by one of my brokers in one of the real estate offices, was a hurricane. He was like, you are a force of nature and
Mhm.
you're everywhere. We can't stop you. You know, he's like, we boarding up windows and doors as you come through. You know, and now I'm a afternoon shower, you know, and so
Mm.
it's very
Mm.
frustrating to go from being really, really active to being able to barely get across the room. So for
Mm.
me, quality of life means so much more to me than quantity of life. And my body, lupus, I've always been an overachiever, and the brand of lupus I got, it too is an overachiever. You know, so as things diminish, I don't want to be here for that. I don't want to be here when I can't get out of bed anymore. I don't want to be here when I can't walk anymore. I don't want to be here, to me, you know, and I'll share, when I was in the hospital, they wanted to give me a procedure that I wasn't having it. I was like, we're not doing that. You know, you guys can't give me the full on, all the risks and all the benefits, then you must be hiding something. We're not doing that. And one of the nurses came into the room and she says, why won't you let them give you this procedure? And I said, because they can't tell me all the risks and benefits. And she says, it'll save your life. And I think my response to that shocked her because I looked at her very like whatever, and I said, "That's cute. Like, really? That's what you got? I don't know. Like, that don't work for me." And I pulled down. I had a purple and black tag on. It's a
Mm.
DNR, stands for do not resuscitate. So if my body goes into whatever it goes into, don't give me any life-saving measures. So I told her, I says, I have a DNR. So come at me with risks and benefits. Like, I want facts and figures, not fantasy. And she says, oh my God, you're so young. She says, I have old people that want us to do everything we can to keep them. And I think this is what anybody should really take away if they're really living a life. I told her, I says, some people want to breathe. I want to live.
Mm.
If I can't live, then let me die. On to the next world. You know, whatever
Yeah.
lessons I need to learn in this life were learned, and it's time to go. And I'm okay with that. You know, so I think that people having a fear of death, why? You're going. You just don't know how, you just don't know when. But the leading cause of death is life. If you are breathing right now, there is going to be a day when you are not. And you may as well embrace that. And to me, knowing that, accepting that, liberates me. I'm going to do it all. I'm not going to wait till I'm younger, older, have more money. If I could figure out how to do it, fuck it, we doing it.
I love it. I feel like that should be everyone's motto. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Oh, I love it. It's such a perfect perspective on things because it literally is, like you said, you know, most people are just breathing, barely breathing actually, Kellie, like literally zombies, automatons, like not even living, like just robots. It's like so hard to witness sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you see it and you're like, just, you want to shake them and wake them up because you're like, you are given this gift of life for a few seconds, literally for a few seconds. It comes and goes like this. Please, you know, just live it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to cure world hunger or like anything major like that. That's not what we're talking about here. Everyone has a different thing they're supposed to be doing on this planet. It might be as simple as just taking care of your cat, you know, as best as you can or whatever, you know. It's like, it could be as simple as that. It's as important as that, but like really, it's like just live as much as possible because literally it could end at any moment. So I'm really happy that you were able to. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's so nice. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you. I always say, you know, I mean, I don't know if I'm the best person. I always say this. I'm not the best person to keep in touch with people. I really am not. I'm terrible at it. That's one of the things that I'm always apologizing about.
Oh,
But
I'm kind of the same way. If you don't cross my mind, like I
yeah,
don't go out,
exactly.
you know, whatever. But know that you're in my heart, and you know, and so it's
Exactly.
yeah. So
Exactly. I
I'm
totally agree. I totally agree. But I do say that, you know, I just want to make sure that people understand that that's not what we're here to do. We're not here to like check off all the boxes. Okay, I did this today. Okay, great. Now I checked out the box. I did that today. Okay, great. It's not about checking that. I know I am the most terrible person for this guy. I love to-do lists, but I always make sure that I have a portion of my day that's dedicated to just connection, community, and like the divine, because it really is like, you know, the most important thing that we're here to do is to connect with other people, to connect with God, whatever God means to you, and like to connect with yourself, you know, to make sure you're learning and growing. So I would love it if you had some last words of wisdom for us, if you don't mind sharing something. I know you've already given us so much, but some last words that you would like to share with us?
The last words, I guess. I don't know if I like the
Last words for this, for this interview.
Use a different phrase after what we just talked about.
True. Okay.
Wisdom. Let's do that.
Some parting wisdom. Yes.
Yes. The first thing I would say is, you know, live your life. Like, don't, for me, okay, it doesn't matter. Somebody's gonna look at my head and go, why does that lady have a bald head? Somebody's gonna look at you and go, oh, I don't like her hairstyle. Who gives a shit? If your hairstyle makes you happy, let them point and let them laugh. You be happy. You're not looking for validation outside of you. Learn how to love the skin that you're in. It doesn't matter how big it is, how small it is, how bald it is, how brown it is. It doesn't matter. Learn to accept yourself and love you fully, so that when they do laugh and point and they go, oh, you think you cute. Think, honey, have you seen me? I'm better than cute. I am beautiful. What you missing? You know, it's like, get a whole look.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Turn the crap around on them. You know, so that's the first thing. The next thing I would say is stop using the word mistakes. There's no such thing as a mistake. Everything that you do is a lesson that can be learned. You can either laugh at it, you can cry about it and laugh about it later, but learn from it and step outside of your comfort zone, because you're here to, in my opinion, you know, everybody believe what they want to believe. You're here in this life to learn what you're supposed to learn in this life, so that your soul or your being or your energy, when it goes to the next life, it doesn't have to repeat this shit. Mm-hmm. So live and take every single lesson that you can. And it doesn't matter if you feel silly doing it or whatever. This morning I did a live on Instagram. I never go live, okay? Because I can go video everywhere and I don't get nervous. But for whatever reason, I get nervous on Instagram. I get nervous on Facebook. And I had researched before and it was like, oh, you could do Instagram in landscape. How about my entire life is like this? I'm totally sideways. And I was, you know, Instagram at the end gives you the option of actually still sharing it. I was like, yep, we're still sharing it. It looks crazy. Hopefully somebody will watch it. But I learned, as silly as it looks, I learned now, you can't do Instagram live in landscape. You know, and I know that's a simple lesson, but, you know, we all do social media. You can kind of relate to that. There is nothing in this life, like I have no regrets for any of the men I've been involved with, any of the jobs I've lost, any of the people I've told to kiss my ass, and later on, you probably shouldn't have done that. I have no regrets because there were lessons learned. I learned, you know, how to hold back my matches for certain fires. Don't burn that bridge down. And other ones, I'm like, I got a flamethrower on that bitch. You know, so I think that if you go into it, and this will be the last thing I'll say, look at, we're all big kids here is what I tell my kids. Look at some of the things in your past that were very, very difficult for you at the time, and look at where you are now. So know that if you take those lessons, it doesn't matter how bad they look. It doesn't matter how much they hurt. It doesn't how you feel. You're going to come through it on the other side better and stronger for it. So don't worry about what other people are thinking. Live your life, make your mistakes, embrace who you are, and I promise you will leave this place with not nary a regret, because anybody that is judging you anyway, not mean any good for you, and fuck them. Pardon my French. And those are my words of parting wisdom.
Your words of parting wisdom, amazing. I love it. Every word rang true for me, so I wouldn't add anything to it for sure. That's exactly, if I was gonna say it, I would say it exactly the same way. So thank you. If anyone wants to get a hold of Kellie, or wants to buy her books, which I would highly recommend, her coloring books, then I'll share all her contact information in the description below, especially her Instagram, because I really do recommend you to follow Kellie on Instagram, because it really is like a pop color in my bright, in like a whatever day you're having, it'll be like a pop of color and a positivity boost for you. So yeah, thank you, Kellie, so much. I'm really appreciative. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we met in Chiang Mai randomly, however we did. I don't remember now how. But I'm always grateful for our friendship. Thank you so much for being here.
You are welcome. Thank you for asking me to be here. It was an absolute honor. And I'm glad to see your beautiful face.
I'm really happy to see you as well. It feels really good. It feels like we're back in Chiang Mai sitting at a cafe having a conversation. It doesn't feel like anything's changed.
Exactly.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you the next time around. Bye.
Bye.